It would seem as though.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning.
It's me.
Is it you?
No, I'm leaving.
Oh my God, she's out of here. She's had enough. One word into the pod and she's like, I am done. Welcome to another week of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Oh God, she's all the way across her giant house.
Hi, I said mostly nothing. Sorry.
Wow.
I forgot the heat was still on. I had to turn the fan off. It was making all noises. So
I know.
Hi.
Because this week we're still at Shea Annika.
I know, but I think this should be where we always
I
do.
agree, because less interruptions. Now, I just keep waiting, though, for while we're doing it here for the old lady to come knock on your door.
Yeah, like, because I'm going to have
I didn't know where anybody was.
I know. No one tells me anything. Did she go for a walk?
Allegedly.
So, but I am having something delivered. Crochet hooks, if you're wondering.
Wow.
I know, she's fancy.
She's crafty.
But Grandma often, if no one's home, will bring the shit to my house. And I have a feeling that she'll come home, see it's there, bring it over, and be like, well, I didn't know you were here. No one ever tells me anything. I've never even been here.
So everyone who's listening knows that my mother, who has dementia, lives with me.
Yeah.
And the only way that I'm able to deal with the stress is by making light of it when talking to Annika.
Right.
And we talk shit because we can. We take it very seriously, obviously. Yeah. And we're very kind to her.
Yeah.
But we're literally behind her back, we're like assholes about it. Because that is the only way that I can stay sane.
Sure.
Because the old lady makes me fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like yesterday, for example, I come home because I had gone to work. We'll call it work. I did one haircut because all the rest of my day canceled. And then ran some errands and got home. And when I went to let my dogs out, there's bread lying in front of the back door on the ground. And I was like, why is there bread out here? And she goes, well, because I threw it out there. Why? Because it wasn't good. Then why not put it in the food garbage?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what difference it makes. And I said, well, I don't want my dogs eating it. Well, I didn't know I couldn't feed it to him. And I was like, well, we have had that conversation 1,000 times.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, if you say so, if that's what you say.
Yeah, that's her new favorite phrase, which makes me want to choke the life out of her.
I know.
But instead, I just leave the room and, go bang my head on a wall or whatever.
Honestly. Well, and we've talked about this before. Like, yes, she has dementia. And yes, that is it's not her fault. It's, what's happening in her brain. It's it's something, it's just not her fault. It's something she can't help. But like your husband always says, two things can be true.
Yeah.
It is a very serious disease. We know the severity of it. We understand that. But also, it is sad and it is fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, interacting with her is an irritant. And I know that sounds harsh and, like, shitty, but, like, it's not like I'm all, shut the fuck up, Grandma. It's not like I'm talking to her like that. But
no, and that's why I said that it's all, when we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
We commiserate, we talk shit, we do whatever. Well, and the thing for me has been all along that when I'm talking to my husband, I say, this is what happened today. And in a very, like, linear, this is why she irritated me today. When I'm talking to you, I can crack jokes about it.
Yeah.
Because really me laughing about it makes me not kill anyone.
Yeah, well, and I think it's good to vent it. Like, it's still valid how you feel. It's still valid how I feel. Like, we are probably the closest people to her. And so what's hard, I think, for us is, like, not only is it sad because that woman currently is not really the same woman. Like, yes, she is. Yeah. And that's, like, the mind-fucking thing, right? Is, like, we see her, we know it's her, but she doesn't know it's her. And, like, that's the most...
And we literally had a day a week ago where she didn't know who she was. Yeah. And she had to look at her ID to know her name.
Well, she didn't know the children. She didn't know you. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know
you're the nice lady who lives next door.
Right, the nice lady who lives next door.
The fact that she starts out with nice?
I know. She doesn't know me at all.
No, I'm like, do you even know Annika? Nice?
Honestly, yeah.
She's not nice.
Yeah, but I just think that, things like this are complicated. And it's like when somebody is dying and you get mad that they're dying. Like, you are allowed to...
Ow.
Is that the
Your
cat?
cat just hooked my ass with her
Well,
claws.
she saw something, she wanted to take it, she tried to take it.
Right, well, it's a
But
lot of ass for a cat.
I have raised her to go for what she wants, and clearly your ass
Well,
is
I
part
like
of it.
her ambition. It's a lot of ass, though, for a cat.
Well, she's a big girl.
She's like, well.
She likes it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah. But anyway.
That's what happens, however, when you have animals in your studio.
Yeah, well, I'm going to lock them up. Lock her up.
Well, it's her studio, too. So
Yeah, she's like, first of all, you're coming into my...
First of all, this is my house,
This
bitch.
is my house. I let all of you in. So, I don't know what you're thinking. Anyway,
Well,
but
you're the one that chose to raise a panther in your
I
house.
didn't mean to. When I got her, she was a kitten. When I got her, she was a normal, itty-bitty, sweet little green-eyed kitten.
And now
She's not.
she's
okay?
20 pounds of fury.
Well, yeah, she gets she's a bitch, but just because she is so big, she's kind of unsteady. She's kind of a clumsy bitch. She can't jump very high. She's not really a cat, and like she'll do that thing where you scratch her back and she'll hate it, so she'll roll over to one side, and she'll keep rolling over on her back because she can't get you because she's a little too portly. But she's also just a big fucking cat. So yeah, it is like a panther.
Yeah.
And that little TikTok video that you showed me of a panther, I said, yeah, that's her.
Because the behavior is all the same.
It's all the same, and she has the same face shape. It's interesting that her face shape is so harsh. And your husband was talking about it when Gavin and I were in LA and everyone took care of the animals, that she has more of like a snout, so she has more of an angular face than a lot of like domesticated house cats. And I remember noticing that when I found those 2 kittens in the yard, and brought them home. And as they got older, their faces, they just got a little rounder, like flatter, rounder faces.
Yeah, more kitten-like.
Just kitten-like. And they look like normal cats, but her face is... So I would just wonder what... And she wasn't intentionally bred. You know what I mean? She was a mama cat, got pregnant. But that could mean anything.
Yeah.
Because I think she is so beautiful, but she's also fucking huge. Like, I don't know what people... Yeah, I don't know what she is. But...
I'm sorry, for a minute I was like, are you talking about your cat still or are you talking about me? She's beautiful, but she's fucking huge.
Oh, that's usually when I talk about you to
like,
people.
She's beautiful, but
like,
she's
let me
fucking
tell you
huge.
about her. I do.
I don't know if you've seen my mother, but she's fucking huge.
You can't miss her.
I know.
Yeah. No, Yes. What? Go home. I'm sick of your shit already.
We're done.
I'm already
That will be
done.
the shortest, no, not quite the shortest pod, because the one week that you were deadly sick,
Oh, yeah.
and all I talked about for a couple minutes was why we weren't doing a pod that week.
Yeah.
Because you were sick. And
Which was a year ago this week.
Oh, yeah. And I talked about Parker being bullied at school.
Yeah, this was a rough
And so it was like
week.
5 minutes, but,
It was a horrible week. I remember being sick. Being horribly sick, feeling like I was going to die, and your husband texted me being like, he's okay, and I was like, what? That was the first thing he said, and then was like, but Parker, like, X, Y, and Z, and it was a little, Jesus Christ, like, I'm already dying.
And now I'm going to go kill people.
I know.
I'm going to come up off my deathbed and kill folks.
I know. Girl, I didn't know if I was going to make it. You
know.
talk. I have to go kill a cat.
Okay, you go kill your cat.
Okay.
What was it? I had something and then it just left my head. Yeah, that was a rough week. Because of that, we switched schools. He's now in a different school. And because his school really refused to do a fucking thing about it. And their solutions only made the problem worse, in my opinion. And so it was his idea to actually just transfer to a different school, which has been so far great. So we're now however many months into school. September, October, November, December, January. We're in the 5th month of school. I guess I did have to count that on my fingers. We're in the 5th month of school, and no incidents, no drama, no whatever. And also, his teachers are more understanding of the way that he learns, which is super important.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But, yeah, that was a bad week.
Yeah.
It was a bad couple of weeks. So I'm glad that this year you're healthy.
I know. I'm not dying. That was wonderful. I do tend... around my birthday every year to get sick. Every year. And sometimes it's not major, but some years it's when I get the sickest of the entire year. And I'm like, really? Like, so close to my birthday? It's either like right before or during, so that sucks.
I
But
know.
now I'm just going to manifest it.
Well, so listen, it is your birthday month, so let's try to keep it together.
I'm doing my best.
Okay.
Maybe
now that you're not going out into the world very much, you'll stay.
Well, and
healthy.
I've stayed pretty healthy.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten sick, and I felt working with the public and like the mass public, you know, face to face with a lot of people in a day, I felt like I got sick regularly.
Yeah. Less so once you started masking.
Yeah. When I started masking my emotions.
That was years
masking
ago.
my
What are you talking
true
about?
identity. Yeah.
That's been years now.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's true. But I wore a mask, you know, the moment COVID happened, I was like masked. And then I wore it up until, I was still wearing a mask when I quit Starbucks. So
Yeah.
that was just in July. So 6 months ago, something like that, 7 months ago. When I quit, I stopped wearing a mask. But like up until then, I wore one every day to work. Girl, and I still got COVID. So like, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but you got COVID at home.
Yeah, I know.
Because your
At home. The call was coming from inside the house. Yeah.
Your then spouse went to a new job and brought home COVID.
Yeah.
So
I blame Portland.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
everybody else.
And the unwashed masses.
I tried really hard, you guys. I was vaccinated. I wore a fucking mask when everyone else said, it's over.
Right.
Well, and now they're encouraging people. There are places that are encouraging you to wear a mask when you go inside again.
Yeah.
Because COVID is like surging again.
Yes, it is.
People, Americans, the 24-hour news cycle has ruined our way of thinking. We just think, oh, it's a hot ticket for a minute. And then it'll be gone.
Well, and that's kind of the weird thing for me, and I'm sure for lots of people. But it's like because I don't really keep up on the news because it's far too depressing and I'm far too fragile.
Yeah, agreed.
I will think, oh, that thing must be over because I don't hear about it anymore. The war in the Ukraine clearly over because I haven't heard a word about it, and no one's outraged, no one's screaming, no one's protesting. Yeah. Oh, everything else, all done. It's all cleared up. The world's gone back to normal. Yeah. When obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
But people have short attention spans.
Yeah. Well, and I think really the 24-hour news cycle has changed how people think about world events. But not only that, the things are still happening. Obviously, you know this. We all know this. The war in Ukraine is a good example, though. It just proves that the media doesn't, like the mass media, you know, like Fox News or CNN, MSNBC, BBC, whatever.
Right, all of them.
They don't ever show you the whole truth. And there's still people fighting and protesting, protesting and, you know, doing what they can for Ukraine, but it doesn't get the highlight anymore because it's currently Israel-Palestine, which is also incredibly important.
And is also much less than the news. Yeah,
and now... For example, in our city, in Portland, when they lit up the Christmas tree in Pioneer Square,
yes,
there was one of the news anchors was on the rooftop of a building, being like, "Down there, the roof. There's they're lighting the tree, and there's all of these carolers." And yes, there were carolers initially, but then the tree lighting essentially became a Palestine protest, like a pro-Palestine protest, and people were essentially just chanting like whatever it was, like ceasefire now, or like Palestine will be free, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the news anchor, the one in the studio, said, "Oh, it sounds like they're singing. Well, what are they doing? How great is it? You know?" And the news anchor on the building was like, "Yeah, listen, they're singing like holiday carols," and that's what they showed on the news. They didn't show on the ground people actually protesting.
We didn't want to bum people out. It's Christmas.
Well, and that's the thing,
We tuned in for a happy little story about a tree lighting. We don't want to hear reality.
We don't want to hear reality. And I just...
reality.
Right? So I just think that's... And people... I think millennials and down have and more just everybody is learning that lots of what you're fed is propaganda.
Yeah.
Lots of everything. All of us are raised on American propaganda. Like...
Right.
And not everything we learn there are things that are actual just objective truth, but propaganda is meant to like change your mind, push an ideal.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? And
absolutely.
The Americanism of what happened to the United States specifically after 9/11 or any kind of attack, but 9/11 was like the first major attack by an outside force on the mainland of the United States, right? And however long. But that shook the United States. And there was a commercial I remember where it was like, they, you know, whatever they said, you know, the Arabs or the Muslims, they wanted to change the United States. And it shows like a neighborhood street, and it's just like normally decorated, shrubs, plants, normal, clean. But then it says, and then they did change America. And the next scene, it shows like the next day after 9/11, and the street is like decked out in like Americana, like flags and ribbons and pinwheels that are the American flag. And like, they did change America because American nationalism became like every religion, culture. Right. That's what America became. And So that's the America I was raised in, because 9/11 happened when I was in 7th grade.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then I remember one of the slogans that was on T-shirts and every coffee cups, every single thing was an American flag, and then underneath it said, "These colors don't run."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
what? How do you? Well, how do you make purple? You know what I mean? Like, they have to, like, run a little bit. That doesn't make any sense. You're stupid.
I'm sorry, but we have to blend some colors.
Do you not understand color theory? Because the only colors aren't red, white, and bleh. That's weird. But that's, like, really that time. Because what year was it? 2000? 2001?
2001.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. I think that's right. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. I was an infant, basically. But
right.
That's really when hard...
I would say me too, but I was 39.
So old.
Yeah.
Old. You old. Anyway, what was I gonna fucking say before you interrupt me with your geriatric? I was an infant. Right. Oh, but that's when, like, the beginning of, like, Islamophobia and xenophobia specifically towards the Middle East and Arabs and the Arab nations and anyone that could be quote unquote mistaken for an Arab. You know what I mean? So, like, there's like Hispanic people who can sometimes look Middle Eastern.
You're brown.
Yeah,
you're probably a problem.
You know, there's indigenous people who can look Middle Eastern. So my point is like it became this hardcore hate against Middle Eastern people, and a lot of it was very misrepresented. Like, you think of, you know, like, oh god, that Islamic terrorist with his head wrapped in his big beard, but that was like not even, you know what I mean? That's not like necessarily an Islamic man. So it just became a lot of stereotypical, cartoonish villainry. Yeah. And
then, of course, the war that started not long after that because of the Iraq War. The lies that were told about, you know, they have
weapons of mass destruction.
They didn't.
I have weapons of mass discretion. Thank you so much.
I'm not really great with discretion, so I know.
Wait a minute. Breaking news.
I know.
This bitch right here is not good with
discretion.
Listen,
there's a couple things in life that even at my advanced age, I love. And one of them is gossip.
Ooh, girl.
If it's good, hot, smoking tea that I'm about somebody, I want to hear it.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is gossip the opposite of gospel?
Ooh.
Right? And I
don't know. I suppose because gospel, when somebody says something is gospel, they mean it's a fact.
It's like the good news, isn't it?
Right, but it's also, people use that often to mean, well, this is a fact, it's the gospel truth, so it's a fact.
Okay.
But there's not a lot of truth in the gospel, so
whatever. Ooh, so maybe.
But I never thought of that.
So just maybe, I don't know, like, breaking down words, what is that called? Entomology? Nope, that's bugs.
That's bugs.
Etymology? Yeah, I'm not good at that. There are some things that are easy, like, what is it? Like, fraternities, like SOR for sorority. Like, those things are easier, or like fratricide, patricide. That shit makes sense to me, but, like, I don't know. I can't break down
fratricide when you kill your brother.
Yeah, kill a sibling.
Okay.
Well,
they probably had it coming.
There is sororicide too, which is killing.
Sororicide.
That's my first daughter's name. Her name is Sororicide.
Does that when somebody has psoriasis and you kill them?
Yeah, I killed all the psoriasis. No, but yeah.
Because I've heard of matricide and patricide.
Yeah. Well, and there's that one story in Greek mythology that deals with the girl named Iphigenia, where her father, King Agamemnon, slit her throat to make the winds blow so they could go to Troy. There's more to it. Artemis was mad and made the wind stop because they killed a sacred deer in her sacred wood.
Sure.
She said, sacrifice a bitch, I'll make the winds blow, you can go to Troy and fight your war for 100 million years. So Agamemnon said, you're going to marry Achilles, Iphigenia. You're going to go marry Achilles. Come with me, come with me, come with me. And then they put her on the altar and slit her throat.
Like you do with your children.
And then the winds blew. And so because of that, Agamemnon's wife killed him. So then that was like whatever side that is. So he killed his daughter. His wife killed him. Her son killed her. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so like
my dear
the whole
God.
family just killed each other. So they were like the family line was, but the brother who was the one who killed the mother, the very last murder or whatever, he was like cursed. Which I was like, all of their souls.
Shouldn't they have all been cursed?
Well, honestly, yes and no. I don't think Clytemnestra. She killed her husband after he killed her daughter.
She was already cursed with a name like Clytemnestra.
I love her name, bitch. Stop it. What you mean?
Everyone's like, I'm sorry, your name is what? You're climbing what?
Chlamydia.
That's what they called her for short.
Yeah.
This is my friend Clytemnestra.
Her husband's name was Agamemnon. That's Memnon. Like Agamemnon.
What's the point?
That's all.
His name was
My name is King of And you might know that story a little bit because you read Song of Achilles. And
I did, and I loved that.
Oh,
such a good book.
Weep dead, kill me dead.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Anyway, sorry.
That's okay.
Off topic.
Oh my god. Oh my god, we're off topic. We're on some tangent or another. That's so unlike us.
Topics.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Excuse me.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
So we're now in a new year. We're almost in season 3 of our podcast.
Almost.
Because next week will be the very last episode of season 2.
Yeah.
And then we start into season 3. And by season, it's just a year.
Yeah.
You know. And so
you're welcome.
we're a little surprised that we are already 2 years into this.
I know. Well, it's because we just do it. Like, I don't do it for anybody else. I do it because it's fun for us.
I know. Even if no one else is listening. Although I know some people are because people comment. People tell me things. So I know some, at least a handful of people are listening.
That's fun. I love that. I love that, though. That's fun.
Yeah.
Listen to what I have to say because it's quite important.
Right.
That's just a JK.
So, but I have a question for you.
That's just a JK.
Since it is the new year.
Okay.
Do you do the whole New Year's resolution thing?
So, I would say yes and no. But leaning more towards no, and I'll explain.
Okay.
My brain really works in like definitive. Okay, I'm going to start that tomorrow. It's an easy start, right? I'll wake up knowing I'm going to start it. I'll start that Monday, or I'll start that Wednesday, whatever, or like I'm going to do dishes. I'm going to do it at 2:45. I don't want to start something at like 2:34. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it feels wrong. And so I get the whole New Year resolution and also being like witchy. That makes sense to me, right? It's like you're starting a whole new thing, but it's kind of arbitrary, TBH, because it's not really the beginning of like the birth renewal. It's not spring. Do you know what I mean? So it is really just something I think we do for like a superstition in a way, right?
Yeah.
But I like to, this year I want to do more X, Y, and Z. This year I want to do more crafting. This year I want to move my body more. But I'm not like, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week. I'm going to make sure I make a project every month. I don't like to send...
So it's more vague.
Yeah, the older I get, I don't like to set hard, strict rules with myself about most things. Because I don't think I'm crazy anymore. I don't think that I don't party, I don't drink, I don't go out and rage, I don't do anything. I don't really leave my home, you know what I mean? I am not impulsive as much as I used to. I've done a lot of work to be better, but also I've just experienced, living what people would consider like living with an actor, seeing like what they have, right? And it's not any better. And so like the older I get, the more I just want to do things that are attainable. And every year I start my year with like giving myself grace, right? I want to be healthier, so that's something I'll be more like a little stricter on. I don't think that I'm necessarily super unhealthy. I just want to do better. I want to move my body more. I'm going to be 35 in a couple of minutes, as we all know, because you mentioned my age.
Because this is the birthday month.
I know, because you mentioned my age like every podcast. Because you just want everyone to know that I'm old. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really feel anything about my age. I don't care. But yeah, I just want to be able to like still be mobile, not be achy, stretch and whatever, but I don't want to be, I can't, being that strict, it only sets myself up for mental disappointment. Yeah. Because then when I'm like, well, I'm going to work out 4 days a week, and then I don't, and then I feel like, fuck, I fucked up. Right. I'm not super good at picking myself back up like that, Right.
I think that it makes more sense to have kind of looser goals. Like, I'm going to get healthier.
Right.
As opposed to, okay, I'm going to work out 4 days a week. I'm going to do at least an hour of cardio with each one. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. It's like, because then you're right. When you don't do it, then you're like, well, I'm a failure. Yeah. And then whatever that brings with it, which is never good things.
No, it just, you feel bad.
And I don't do specifically New Year's resolutions because I think they're dumb, and I do think they set you up for failure. Yeah. This year, I started thinking back in beginning of December, I think, all right, bitch, you're too fat. Mm-hmm. It's hard to move. It's hard to do the things you need to do. And, you're huffing and puffing, walking up the stairs, all those things. And I was like, all right, get your shit together.
Oh, my God. Sorry. This cat almost killed me.
You're a tat cat.
Yeah. Holy shit.
But it was like, I need to just get my shit together. Sure. I need to, as you said, I need to move more. Yeah. I need to eat less. I need to make better choices of what I eat, and all of those things. But then, of course, because it was December, I started thinking, there's too much shit going on in December, and if I say I'm going to start today, I'm going to fail.
Yep.
And so I took some time and thought about it, and I was like, all right, so January 1.
Yeah.
You know, because the parties will be over.
Yeah.
And the only party, per se, that I have in January is your birthday.
Yep.
So, you know, I will have a little cake or whatever on your birthday, but I'm going to avoid, because honestly, the fact of the matter is if I could have cake every day, I would.
Right.
If it wasn't detrimental to my health and if it was available, I would have cake every day.
Well, and
I love cake.
Yeah. Well, girl, in every family dinner we have dessert. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And we have family dinner once a week.
Right. And so I started making mental lists of what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then goals. And my goal is never, I'm going to weigh this amount.
Oh, no.
My goal is, I need to be able to walk from here to there. I need to be able to, like, because we're going to Disneyland in May.
Yeah.
I need to be able to ride all the rides.
Yes, girl.
Because the last time I was there, I can still ride all the rides because Disneyland is very fat friendly.
Yeah. Very inclusive.
But the Incredicoaster, which I love,
Yeah.
was uncomfortable. Because my knees were now like right smack up against.
Well, and your knees already, you've always had issues with your knees since childhood.
But having them up against that hard surface, and then as it like would slam things, so my knees would bounce against them, I'm like, I'm gonna die.
Well, I'm sure that would be uncomfortable no matter what. Again, like if you went as a youth, your knees would still, you would want to die.
Well, and I'm sure that someone like really tall, like Gavin, probably has the same where his knees are up against whatever. Yeah. But I'm sure his knees are healthier than mine, and he's also a lot younger than me. Yeah. But and not that I'm discounting anybody else's stuff.
Totally.
But
how dare you?
So, but with weight loss for me, always comes really unrealistic expectations, because that's my entire life. And as a matter of fact, you know how I always joke that I'll hear some cute phrase and I'll go, "Oh, that's what I was going to call my autobiography."
Yeah.
Or that's what I was going to call my first album, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this week, this phrase just popped into my head because like I said, on the 1st, I started changing my eating habits. Every time I started diet, and I think this is most dieters.
Okay.
I think most habitual dieters, most fat people who are really fat their whole lives, not people who are like, I need to lose 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
But people who actually need to lose weight will start a diet and expect that by the next day, some miracle would have occurred, right? And it's like, oh my God, I feel so much better already. Yeah. Look at me, I'm thinner. Which, of course, isn't reality.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because that's the kind of
programming,
disassociation in your head where you're like, I'm already thinner, I can feel it. And so you'll then step on the scale and it's like, it's maybe a few ounces different or a pound different or something, who knows? And it's like,
yeah.
And whatever. And so last Monday, I was like, all right, well, but when I weigh myself, and I weigh myself every day, which I also know is bad.
Oh.
You're not supposed to.
Have you always weighed yourself every day?
No, only when I'm doing well. Only when I'm dieting do I weigh myself every day.
Okay.
If I'm off the rails and eating, all the crap that I shouldn't eat, I weigh myself every once in a while to make sure I haven't gone, to some number that I'm like, oh dear God, I've never been that high before.
Yeah.
So last Monday I was like, my first goal is to lose 10 pounds by next Tuesday, which I was like, that feels doable, because the first little bit will come off a little faster because of water and what have you. But it made me laugh because I was like, 10 pounds by Tuesday, that should be my autobiography. 10 pounds by because Tuesday. Every time I diet, it's like by the next day I expect, but this was actually the next week. But so I've decided I'm actually going to write a story about my life. Yeah. And it's going to be called 10 Pounds by Tuesday, Obesity, Dieting, and a Life of Unrealistic Expectations.
Yeah, I love
because
that.
Because I think most fat people... Yeah. Or most people who are a part of the diet culture.
Which is literally every woman.
Yeah. Because we're told we have to be. Mm-hmm. Have unrealistic expectations. Yeah. Because the world puts on us their unrealistic expectations. It's like, I'm a 61-year-old woman. I'm not going to be dropping weight so fast and then suddenly being like, oh my God, look, I'm in my, tiniest outfit that I've ever owned. Whatever.
Sure.
I was also thinking the other day, random, how if I had all of the sizes of clothing that I've ever had and gotten rid of when I was no longer that size.
Yeah.
Because that's also something I tend to do. I go from my biggest size to whatever. It's like, oh, I'm no longer that size. Get rid of it. Yeah. Because if I keep it around, I always feel like, well, then I'll just be more likely to go back to it.
But instead you
and every time I've always gone back to it, and I just have to buy more clothes, which I then hate. But I was thinking, God, if I had clothes from every size I've ever been, I would have too much clothing to even fit in my house.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But you'd then downsize. Like I had a closet. I do have a closet full of shit I love. I don't really wear a whole bunch of shit because I, first of all, don't work really outside of our compound often. I don't leave very often. Right. I don't work with people, so I'm not wearing I don't work in a boutique. I'm not wearing dresses very often. I'm not, but I have all this stuff that I love, and I just downsized again and stuff I thought that I would never get rid of that, but I did because I'm like, girl, you haven't worn it in 2 years,
right?
And what you're talking about with your relationship and your journey with weight into food is, even though we don't have the same body and we didn't have the same experience with it, I still feel a lot of that. Do you know what I mean? I do a lot of things that I realized are what. I was reading this article and it was about things that fat women do or fat people do in society when interacting with non-fat people. You know what I mean? Or whatever. One woman said that she manages the speed in which she's eating based on how everyone else is eating around her.
Uh-huh.
And that always, I look at if other people, how quick they're going to judge the pace in which I should eat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I get that. So there are things that I do understand on a weird level, but I've never seen anybody with a healthy relationship to food. Do you know what I mean?
No, it feels to me like either you are in excess or you're starving yourself.
Yeah.
And there are people who I know who are like, oh, I forgot to eat. Well, that's not healthy either.
Yeah, no.
Or I'm trying to maintain my weight, so I only eat once a day. That's also not healthy.
Not healthy, yeah.
Or whatever. And I'm sure there are people who just have their little sensible whatever. Yeah. What I want to know is, are there people who spend their entire day not thinking about food?
Oh, right.
Yep. Because from the time I get up in the morning to the time I go to bed, and even sometimes after that when I'm dreaming, there's some element of what I'm going to eat, what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat, where, all what to avoid, how am I going to do today? And it's all that anxiety around food. And it's been my whole life.
Weird.
Now, so my husband, as you know, is now in recovery from childhood trauma because he grew up with a drug addict and an alcoholic. And as he's doing his work, he I will talk about something from my childhood, and he's like, because you had some childhood trauma as well. And I'm like, oh, no, I did not. Yeah. My life was peachy keen. There was because there's a lot of things that I didn't realize. And once you shine a flashlight on those things, you can't unsee them.
Right.
It's like, oh, here's this thing. Oh, crap.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. One of the things that he pointed out to me is because my mother's lived with me for more than 12 years now.
Yeah.
And one of the things he knows and he's seen is that she overfeeds her animals.
Yeah.
Because her way of showing love is through food.
Yeah.
Well, he said to me, he goes, okay, so let's think about this. Your mother's way of showing love is through food and feeding the people she loves. When she put you on a diet at the age of 10 and started taking away food, to a 10-year-old, subconsciously, it also felt like she was taking away love.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this means what? You don't love... Or it also, to me, always meant, well, you're also not good enough.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
There's something about you we need to fix.
Yeah.
All your siblings are fine.
Sure.
But you, we need to fix.
You're wrong,
And so that just fucked me up.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? Why?
Well...
I mean, I knew I was a fat kid. I'm going to say that... So, I was watching something the other day, and whoever it was some celebrity saying how they grew up poor, but they didn't know they were poor because it just felt...
No.
I knew I was poor.
Uh-huh.
I was very painfully aware of the fact that we were poor.
Same, yeah.
So there was never I didn't even know. I just thought it was normal. I knew it wasn't normal.
Poor?
But I also knew I was fat.
Yeah, okay.
From the time I was just a young child, trying not to say a small child because I was never that. From the time I was a young child, because adults talked about it like I couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
Other kids were horrific to me about it. You know, they would just torture me about being fat. My siblings especially.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I got to school and it just, you know,
Yeah.
increased exponentially.
Yeah.
So from the time I was old enough to really comprehend conversation, which I think most people, their memories, their hardcore memories or their core memories start at like 3.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember before 3, but 3 I can start remembering some stuff.
Same.
I remember adults always talking about my weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what you going to do about this one? Little fat kid, blah, blah, blah. You know, you need to make that one go out and do something. And there was always, everyone had a suggestion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the other thing that happened was, so when my mother was pregnant with me, at the same time, there was an elephant up at the zoo pregnant, which was the first time an elephant in the Portland Zoo was pregnant and blah, blah, blah. And so it was a big deal. And because my mother got so huge, because I was a huge baby, there was the comparison.
Oh, right.
You know, it was like, oh, look, she's like Belle, the elephant up at the zoo. And then when the baby elephant was born, it was named Packy. And so that was my nickname as a baby because I was nicknamed after an elephant.
Yeah.
And I heard the story 1,000 times. And as a matter of fact, my aunt, who I adore, every year for years would like call me or whatever on Packy's birthday to tell me happy birthday.
Is it your birthday?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 weeks before my birthday. But I'm all, this is not my birthday. And I told her multiple times, but that's how she remembered my birthday was because that goddamn elephant at the zoo. So my whole journey has been, that has been diet culture, has been, by the time I was an adult, I literally had no self-esteem.
Sure.
Because every day someone's like made some remarks about how fat I was. And if you're fat, there's obviously something wrong with you. You're lazy.
Yeah.
You're stupid.
Yeah, no good.
You're whatever.
Yeah.
It never can be just like, oh, you're fat. Okay.
It has a non-issue.
Right. It has to be, there's something tied to that.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think, honestly, that's generationally, because more and more it's becoming like there's more fat inclusive, like talk, more fat inclusive wear. People don't, like this young generation, they talk about shit like, oh, this is my friend Sean, who is now Shauna, whatever, no big deal. Oh, and this person's queer, and like, no one gives a fuck anymore. This young generation, they don't care. They don't give a fuck about most things. And because they've been raised differently in something that's more positive, in all activist related, like all the body positivity nonsense, which is like sometimes too much for me.
Yes.
Like it's sometimes toxic. Like shut up, right? Let's all just be realistic about like words are words and bodies are bodies, right? And they don't hold inherent value. Like it's just a body.
Right.
But the younger generation sees the world differently. You know what I mean? Because they're natives to the internet, first of all, and they can see through propaganda because millennials have been talking about propaganda for fucking ever,
Yeah.
And so, like, it is different. The conversation about weight and bodies and how bodies are different is changing. I mean, because I think at some point, people are, like, talking about trans people, and that's changing your body differently,
right.
Or some people consider like you're doing the wrong thing with your body. And so what is being fat when you can just switch use all the surgeries or take all the drugs to change your whole body, right? Like at some point the conversation about bodies becomes like null and void, right? Because every body is so susceptible to change at the drop of a hat. Whether it's medically, whether it's addiction, whether it's you choose to with surgery and, medications, whatever. But like I think the conversation about bodies, shapes, sizes, what they look like is vastly different.
It is vastly different because in my youth, there was no such thing as body positivity.
Yeah.
There was, you fit into this mold or you're wrong.
Or you're wrong. Yeah.
You be thin or you're fat, and if you're fat, you're lazy, you're whatever.
Yeah, you're not worth anything. Your value is
your worth
diminished.
is literally measured by your pounds.
Yeah.
And you would think, well, I'm more pounds, I should be worth more.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and that is such Western ideology, like Western culture and ideology, wanting that rail, thin, no curve, no fat on the body kind of culture, because they're in Africa and in many, like...
Well, it's very white.
It's very white, yeah, but in just Europe, you know what I mean? Because even if we think about Southern Europe, like Italy, lots of women are thicker. In Africa, lots of women are thicker. In India, lots, like, thickness is a very Western white, thinness is a very Western white achievement to get to, and expected that everyone will be that way. When in many cultures, body diversification is just not something talked about because it's just something that it happens.
Right, it just is.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be talked about because people just, that's your body, right? Like, I don't know.
I've also, though, seen a lot of blowback about the whole body positivity movement because I'll see fat girls who love their body and are like, I'm wearing a bikini. Yeah. Fuck off. Yeah, whatever. And then I've seen people who are like, have to have some response to that. It's like, well, ridiculous. She's obviously trying to kill herself. She's going to get diabetes. She's going to have this. She's going to have that. And this is unhealthy. And then all of our healthcare prices go up and blah, 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 blah. It's like, so this fat girl is responsible for the price of your medical care. Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. And why? But my question is, why do you care?
Why do you care?
If big girl over here wants to wear a bikini or wants to just be herself and not worry about it, why do you care? Right. Why is it your mission in life to tell her she's wrong?
Well, I also feel like, though, sometimes there is, there's that whole reaction when you're, like, aroused or attracted by something to be vicious and hateful to it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, especially if it's not what's normal.
If you are a cisgendered heterosexual man married with children and you, on the DL, like men, you outwardly are homophobic. You are hateful.
Trying to pass laws about it.
Yeah, and you are trying to keep the gays as far away from you because you are queer, right? Like, so I think some of it is that. I also think people are pissed because they see fat people who wear bikinis, wear crop tops, wear what they want to wear, and actually live in their bodies. It's jealousy. People starve themselves. People work out consistently. People have all the supplements. People have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to change their bodies and still don't have that confidence that a lot of fat people have. It's the same thing on a different level with being queer, right? Like, a lot of people see queerness as like, horrible, hateful. One, because either they're into it, or two, I'm pissed because, like, how dare you? I'm modest, and I go to church, and I praise God, and I have a husband, and I'm dedicated,
and I'm miserable.
And you,
how
you
dare
queer,
you be happy?
Yes, right. How dare you?
I think that's the same, and it's the same thing with fat people. It's like, how dare you be happy?
Yeah,
you are not killing yourself to be thin.
Yep,
and you have no right to be happy.
Yeah,
you should be super unhappy, and you should be looking at me going, "That's what I need to be. I need to be thin like that chick, or whatever it is."
Yeah.
Which to me is just gross.
Me too. And, because I'm 6'1", and the idea of trying to look like another woman to me is hard because I'm taller than most women. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I've never been super insecure about my body, and my height has never been something. A lot of tall girls are, like, very hunched, they don't want to be tall.
Well, they try to make themselves smaller, also to take up less space in the world.
Yeah. And at a very formative time, like, in my teen years, that's when I became the bitchiest in my life. And just that's when I was all, no, ma'am, I'm not slouching. But I also knew that comparing my body as a tall woman, as a, with a different build, I was never going to look like that in a 5'4" body. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not.
Right.
And we've talked about this. I have gained weight. I don't feel bad about the fact that I've gained weight. I'm mostly just irritated that things don't fit me, right? And that's it. And I don't think that's unreasonable. It's not like, oh, stupid body, how dare you? It's just like, well, lots has changed in this last year, and I blame it on Gavin. I tell him, like, how dare you make me fat?
Right.
And then we laugh.
God damn it, why do you make me happy?
But we like to snack, and we like to be together, and food is comfort. And, like, I understand that lots of people have, their relationships with food that are unhealthy, right? I get that food shouldn't be a reward, but there are some things that are just comfortable, right? And I think one of the issues is when food becomes like your comfort, and then also the reason you're ridiculed, it becomes your comfort and your poison.
Right.
And I think that's a prime example of what happened in your life, right? Like, first of all, your body just grew how bodies grow, and your grandma, again, she fed the fuck out of me while she was starving herself. Do you remember? And it wasn't because she was poor. That's just how her mind works. She couldn't gain weight, right? She shouldn't gain weight. She needed to be fit. She needed to be trim. But she made us eat all the time,
right?
But would not feed herself. And her own issues, right? That she projected onto you, but then made like food is her way, her currency in showing like, this is how I adore you. I love you. I want you to be strong and healthy. So yeah, your husband is so right. When she restricted it, if you felt unloved, so your food became a comfort, but then also like poisonous, you know?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that, coming to grips with that as an adult, it's like, oh, here's why my relationship is unhealthy.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I was talking about this a while ago, is as a child, one of my favorite meals was biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Now, I still love a good. It has to be good, though.
It has to be good.
Good biscuits and sausage gravy, where it's got just the right spice level and the right creaminess and the good biscuit.
Totally.
Because if most places make it just not as good as what I want, whatever. And once I realized, so as an adult, I'll be like, ooh, biscuits and gravy, I want that. And then I'll get it and be like, meh.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Or whatever. Even if it's good, it's like, yeah, it's okay. But I don't get
the high from
that feeling I got when I was a child, because it's no longer associated with love.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the chef clearly doesn't love me because, whatever. And when I realized that, it was like, oh my God, that is my problem with most food things. It's like, I am eating this and expecting to feel that euphoria or feel the warmth and compassion and love that was then taken away.
Do you know what I think of when you're saying this? I like that you use that comparison, but all of the things you're thinking of makes me think of addiction. Yeah. I got high this one time. I felt euphoria. I felt warmth. I felt love.
Absolutely.
And then when you try to get high again, that same drug, the same way, it's not the same.
No. And when you're disappointed by that, you're like, well, it must be this restaurant, this recipe, this whatever.
Exactly.
The next time, it'll be better, and I'll get that feeling that I remember as a child.
Yeah.
And you don't,
right?
And I even talked about. So I was in this nutritional program like the year before last. That you go to all these classes online, and then whatever, you have this thing where you put in your food and your weight and your whatever and keep track of it, and it's all for you, but there are little classes you go to,
sure,
and then you have access to a coach, and they talk to you about nutrition and whatever, and it was all included. I talked one-on-one to that coach one time, because when I said one of my issues is that I have a pretty significant addiction when it comes to food, and she said to me, well, that's not a real thing.
Oh.
And you're a health coach?
That's crazy.
Food addiction has been proven to be a real addiction like any other addiction. And why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Alcohol is an addiction.
Yeah.
Cigarettes yes, cigarettes have a chemical in them that make you physically addicted, but porn is an addiction.
Yeah. Sex is an addiction.
Anything can be, like hoarding is an addiction.
It brings you euphoria.
But food isn't.
I know. That's crazy.
And I was like, food is one of the easiest things to get your hands on.
Oh, yeah.
It's the easiest thing to overindulge in.
Yep.
Because almost everywhere you go here in America, you go to a regular restaurant, the servings are too big. Mm-hmm. And you have the, go to fast food and you have the option to upsize everything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, do you want that regular or medium or big, large size?
Do you want the size?
Do you want that with a bucket of soda and, a pound of fries?
Do you want me to strap the trough to the top of your car or just put it right through the window?
Can we give you one of those hats?
Yeah.
With the cans on each side and a straw that goes directly in your mouth?
Well, we have some wooden barrels.
And that's what that feels like to me. It's like, don't eat too much, but we're going to serve you too much. So don't eat it all.
I want you to know that it feels like Western, specifically American culture, is so the world of extremes. Sex sells, but don't have sex. Sex and prude is being very prudish. Same thing. Overindulging in food, but the need to be thin or fit.
Right.
Bonkers to me.
And they wonder why so many people are anorexic or bulimic.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to intentionally feed you way too much food.
Yep.
And you shouldn't also waste it, because wasting food is a sin. You know, it's like there's people starving somewhere, well, ship it to them. You know, make smaller portions.
Yeah.
You know, look at what an actual portion size is of something and try that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I paid $20 for a, you know, burger and fries and a drink, and the burger was actually probably a serving size and the fries were a serving size, I probably would be a little irritated, because I'm like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, and even though it probably would be enough food, visually, because as they say, you eat first with your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at this plate of tiny food going, what? Just so you know, as I'm talking, the cat is trying to kill Annika.
Oh, you fucking
she's biting and clawing and acting like an asshat. But, you know, that's what I've also struggled with that. Like, for the longest time, I don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I would go to a restaurant and I would go, oh, this looks good. I wonder if it's going to be enough food.
Oh, yeah. Oh. I still do that now, girl. All the time. Ordering food, is that going to be enough? When Gavin and I order food to have delivered here, like Grubhub or whatever, I'll be like, should we get something else? And we both ordered like a meal. It's still in my head. But that, for me, is different. It's being raised poor, not having food.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You know, but I also think it's that whole having food addiction issues and having, it was like, well, I'm going to order this thing. And in the like if it's a menu online, so there's pictures. So I'm like, well, that looks
enough.
Like that's probably enough. But what if I'm still hungry? Well, what if I am still hungry?
Yeah, you have food in the house.
Yeah, it's not like I'm sitting out in the middle of nowhere with no food.
This is the only way we're ever going to eat.
Yeah, I know.
And so it is interesting that we have a lot of the same, very similar issues. They're not the same, obviously. But, like, and my issue stems strictly from being poor, not having food. Or eating food, like, that was expired. Or doing what I had to do because that's all I had, right? And so that's with, like, eating quickly because, like, when am I going to eat again? Or I haven't actually eaten food in a minute. And so, like, eating it quickly because you're so hungry, but then also, like, when are you going to eat again? Right? Or overindulging because you're like, when are you going to eat again?
That's one of the things I've talked about many, many times when I was a child.
Yeah.
Like, we had times of food scarcity.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, this meal is just biscuits and gravy, but with nothing in it, because my mother had flour and had lard and had butter or whatever and could make biscuits and gravy. And if we were, you know, we were doing okay, there was meat in it.
Yeah.
But it was like super cheap and plentiful, right? So we had times of food scarcity, and so those were the times where, when, like, if I was at a friend's house and they're like, "Oh, do you want some of whatever?" You know, yes, absolutely. And then I might go home and eat dinner too, because it's like, but I probably should get an extra meal today because who knows about tomorrow. And that whole mindset of scarcity, it makes you get some really strange habits. Like, well, I'm going to eat every chance I get because I might not get to eat tomorrow.
Yep, I'm going to eat literally everything on my plate, because if I don't eat it, you know what I mean, am I going to eat again? Like, and I still do that now, right? I still feel an impending doom. I feel such anxiety when I open my cupboards in my refrigerator and I need to go grocery shopping. Yeah. When it is getting down to bare bones, I mean, I still could make something. I also, I have money, I have a car, right? But in my head, I'm like, holy fucking shit. The moment we go grocery shopping, I feel like I could go take a nap. Like, I'm the most peaceful. My refrigerator's full, my cupboards are full, I have fruit, I have whatever. I feel the most comfort that I ever feel, kind of ever, you know? And I know it sounds weird.
No, it's a very zen moment.
Yeah, and it's when I first started dating Gavin, I went to his apartment, and his refrigerator, he was going to the gym a lot. He had, like, meal prepped food and, like, a couple gallons of milk for protein shakes, and that was it. And I said, oh, I fucking hate this. And he was like, what? You don't like meal prep? And I'm like, no. What? Why are you crazy? But, yeah, so now he knows, like, oh, you just need to see that there's, like, abundance.
Right.
Right. And it's true, but, like, growing up and opening a refrigerator and not having anything is, like, so scarred and so pushed in my mind. So yeah, so a lot of the same food issues we have are similar. Pacing ourselves, watching other people eat, not eating so quickly, not overindulging, right? Because when are we going to eat again? And it's weird to me that I'm 35, almost 35 years old, and that is still such a thing. Those are still such things I think about, you know?
Well, and another thing, and I'm sure that we've talked about this before,
Sure.
that as a fat person navigating the world, people feel the freedom
Yeah.
to say whatever the fuck they want.
Yep.
Like, fat girl at a buffet. Someone's going to go, oh, of course you were the first in line.
Yep.
Or, oh, you're going back again?
Yep.
Or, oh, I hope you save some for me.
I know, and all those things they think are innocuous and sweet and funny.
Yeah.
Just a joke.
They think that that's okay to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, I have fat friends as well who will say the same thing. It's like, when we go to an event,
Yeah.
a private party or whatever, where there's food, oftentimes we will not be the first in line. Or, you know, when they say, go ahead and go get food, we'll wait until the lines die down. So that someone's not going, well, of course you were the first in line. You know, and they might as well say what the rest are thinking. Of course, you big fat bitch, you were the first in line.
Look, fatty
and don't eat all the food because the rest of us are hungry too.
Yeah.
You big cow. You know, and it's like, whether they think that, that's what we hear.
Yeah, well, and that's why...
Because I believe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because why else would you say it?
Yeah. And just the stereotypes. That's why so many of the things... What was that? The Clumps, that horrible Eddie Murphy movie.
Oh,
or Shallow
God,
House.
yes.
I love Jack Black, but Shallow House, so awful. And just all those movies that... Even The Goonies, which I adore, which is problematic in so many ways. But The Truffle Shuffle, like... All these things that make being fat or having a thicker body or whatever bad... Or the butt of the joke. It's just such like a weird... It's cringy to me, right? It's like...
Well, it's like the episode of Friends where Monica's in her fat suit.
Okay.
Or Joey's in a fat suit.
Yeah.
There's one of each. You know, it's like, why?
And now...
And it's hilarious how fat they are and how they're just can hardly walk. And oh my God, look at how fat they are.
Well, in one of my favorite shows, Raising Hope, that happens. There's an episode where it shows like what would happen if Jimmy didn't get the serial killer pregnant, right? What if Hope wasn't born? And it's like Bert and Virginia, his parents, become very different, and Martha Plimpton, is like wearing a fat suit. And it's very disappointing, and I try to like disconnect things and being like, well, it's this one instance, it's not that bad. But it is fucking disappointing that people think that shit is funny, and just anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm trying to remember what I was watching the other day. I was watching something that was relatively recent that had someone in a fat suit. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
This is not only not funny.
Yep.
But it's also damaging to fat people.
Well,
and I get it, that's maybe not who your target audience is. Maybe you don't care.
Yeah.
And whatever. And shame on you. But why you wouldn't do that if it was like, we're going to make a joke because this person's black.
No.
We're going to make a joke because this person is disabled. We're going to make, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is it okay then?
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've heard this said, and I've said it many times, that fat people are the last group that it's still okay to make fun of. Mm-hmm. Because
it's like socially acceptable.
Yeah, it's still socially acceptable to talk about that fat fuck who's like doing whatever. And it's like, oh my God, look how fat they are.
And you know what though? I still feel like that's so generational. I still really feel like, because I don't think mothers nowadays are teaching their children. Often, I think probably it still happens, of course. I'm not saying all mothers are great, but I think more so because of being like, well, you are who you are. This is your body. Love your body. Like, because of that whole idea of teaching your children to love their bodies, opposed to giving them like, well, slim down a little bit for before homecoming or whatever earlier than that. You know what I mean? I don't think that is as severe as it was when you were being raised, as when I was being raised, you know?
Right. I do believe it has changed.
Yeah.
And I know within my own daughter that I would never be like, well, you're getting a little fat. You need to do something about that.
Well, and she talks about her own body. And I don't think she talks about it in a negative light. She just talks about it as a matter of fact. Because she says, well, you know that she said things to me that are different than to you.
Yeah.
Because she talks about her body. Oh, that's when I was thinner, or I had my thin body. And what are you now? And she'll say to me, like, well, not thinner, bigger, you know? But to me, when she says it, it's never an ambassador. Are you upset that your body has changed? Are you upset that these changes happen? Or you fluctuate or whatever? And she says, no. And I was like, okay. But then you were telling me that she said something that kind of made it feel that she needed to be thin or something. But she didn't get that here, girl. She did not get that from us.
No, and I will say to her when she's like, oh, you know, am I skinny? Do I, whatever. It's like,
who cares?
No, but whatever, and because I'm not going to lie to her. Yes, yeah, you sure are.
Well, you're thin, yeah.
But it's like, and I will ask her, I go, are you concerned about that?
Yeah.
No. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you are, then, we'll, whatever, we can do something about it. But if you're not worried about it, then I'm not worried about it.
Mm-mm.
And yes, if it was severe enough, of course I'd be worried about it and be like, well, if it was causing her to have other issues, which at this moment it is not.
Well, and that's the thing too. People are like, so this person's fat. You're okay with fat people, so you expect people to just like not ever be able to walk and eat whatever they want. Like, no, don't be dumb, right? Like, I don't want you to like not be in your best self. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but that's for anything. Like, do whatever drug you want, bitch. With the moment that you're nodding or you kill yourself or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life.
When you get to the extreme of like those TV shows like 1,000-Pound Sisters, who can't get out of bed.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, okay, you've now reached a point, where you are damaging yourself. Yeah. And obviously you're having some kind of codependent relationship with someone who's going to feed you too much food and keep you that way. Yeah. So, but those are the extremes and is, whatever. Yeah. And I know that's way off from where we started of what we're going to do this year. Well, that's okay. So, but what I'm going to do this year is just work on getting healthier. Yeah. And getting stronger and being able to have more stamina. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, same. For me...
And I like to throw some craft things in there, too, because I want to do some fun stuff.
Yeah. So my resolutions are very similar. But again, a couple years ago, I started with, like, you need to give yourself grace. You need to give yourself grace in literally everything.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah, right? Well, and I was telling Gavin...
Because most of us don't.
Right? And I don't know. I feel like, again, going through therapy, really deciding to change my life, going to school, changing my relationships, like all of the things. I really needed to grow up. I felt like I was an imposter. We've talked about this. So I want to work out. Say I make a goal, but my goal isn't a fact. My goal isn't set in stone. So I say 4 days, I don't work out a day, I'm going to give myself grace. Like, I'm not going to punish myself for doing something because then it's going to become a chore. When the moment I punish myself for not doing something that I set out to do, I will do it. I want to do these things. I wouldn't set them as goals. But here's the thing. I fucking hate working out. I hate moving my body. Like, I like going on walks. I like that. But I don't want to work out. Working out's awful. I hate it. I wish that I loved it, right? I wish that I was one of those people that, like, I'm just doing squats while I'm waiting. Like, no, I'm not that person. I hate it. But I know that I should. I know just for my own health, being able to lift things and bend over and be able to stretch. And it's not that I can't. I don't want to get to the point where I can't. But, again, my mental health, I've struggled with that more than, like, my physical body. Right. So, I prioritize that because that girl will make me want to fucking die if it's not good, right? But giving myself grace, being more active, moving my body, eating healthier, yeah, sure. All of those things, but also being more crafty. I've already made a knit blanket. It was a finger knit blanket. Gavin's weaving. I'm learning how to crochet. I have a little needlepoint thing over there. So, like, we're doing all the things. We are rearranging our home. Like, just, more things I want to do. Paint walls, hang shit, do fun things around the house. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to be a little more crafty.
One of the things, and we're going to have to wrap it up. We'll leave it here.
We'll do a second part of this next week. I enjoyed this.
That I want to share with you is that, and it's about giving yourself grace, that one day I did something that didn't turn out as, I think it was like I cooked something and it didn't turn out right. Yeah. And so I said to my husband, well, that was a fail. Mm-hmm. Or I said, I failed with that then. And he goes, how do you figure? And I go, well, because it wasn't good. Mm. So clearly it was a failure. And he goes, so do you see everything as either it's a success or it's a failure? There's no in between? Yeah. And I was like, I don't understand what would be in between. You succeed or you fail. Yeah. It's right or it's wrong. Sure. And I know that sounds extreme, but that's how I understand the world. Sure. So we'll pretend it was, bread. I made bread, and the bread was not delicious. And he's like, but you tried something new. Mm-hmm. So it's not that it was entirely a failure. You learned some new skills. You also learned what to do different next time. Yeah. And I was like, but the bread was inedible. Right. So I think it was a failure. And he was like, but you're not seeing that there is some in between. You need to give yourself some grace and be like, well, I tried something new and this time it didn't really work out. It can be softer than failure.
But I also,
like, well, this didn't work out.
But I also think failure doesn't have to be bad, because failure implies you learned. Because now when you remake that bread, you're gonna do it differently. Right. So I'm not gonna. I think you're both just saying the same thing. People just have a different way. It's like people being offended or giving too much power to a word, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People say like, oh, well, hate means it has too much power. But people throw on the word love like it's crazy. I'll say I hate shit all day. I don't give a fuck.
I'm going to say that I hate that. I hate that people, like, I love you. You just met me.
I know.
Or you don't know me.
Yeah.
Tell me anything about me other than my name or what I look
girl,
like.
I'm going to tell you, love can be nuanced, bitch. Love doesn't have to be the kind of love that we all know. Anyway, my point is, you can be a failure and still know that you learned shit. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, give yourself grace. You know, just if you fuck up, you fuck up. You can still learn shit. I told you, we're done. But I knitted that blanket, started with 30 stitches, ended with 26. You explain math to me.
So I'm going to end on this line because my favorite line from the movie Meet the Robinsons.
Okay.
From failure, we learn. From success, not so much.
Not so much, no.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week to talk about whatever the fuck we feel like talking about.
It'll be our final season 2 episode.
It'll be our final season 2 episode.
Yeah.
And
we'll probably just pick up more. We'll talk about this next year. Not just maybe resolutions. Well, we have plans.
Yeah, we have things going on, man. We're busy people.
Yeah, sometimes.
Who don't like to leave our house.
I'm not very busy.
And who's being attacked by a cat.
I'm sorry. That ass, though, girl. She's all, that ass.
That ass, though. Oh, my God. So, if you would like to send us your thoughts, your complaints,
your prayers, your thoughts and prayers,
your cash, it would seem as though at gmail.com, and we're here every week. We come out every Wednesday. Like, share, subscribe.
All the things.
Make sure you have you've downloaded your podcasting app, and we'll
and think about what you want to say to me for my birthday. It is on the 30th of this month. Also, I just graduated from college, in case any of you forgot. So it's time to celebrate me.
So do we need to add your, Venmo account so people can send you money?
Oh, sure. Oh, my God. Everyone send me money.
How?
Oh. It'll be linked. I don't know.
It'll be linked to what? There's no links for this.
I don't remember it. We'll do it next week.
We'll talk about that. You can send us money. We'll figure out how to...
Yeah, just give me money. Money, please. Poor. Me
poor. Aww. Bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though...